You're listening to the official Geeks of Color podcast, your weekly plug for the latest geek news and the hottest movie reviews. Get new episodes every Monday on your favorite podcast app. All right, let's get it. What's up, everybody? It's your boy D here, back at it again with another podcast. So we've got a special one for you today. This is just going to be a mini pod of our reaction and our review to episode 3 of WandaVision. It just dropped today on Friday. I just want to preface this by saying that we've already seen this episode earlier for our review, so we already knew what happened going into it, but it's been a couple weeks now, so this was like a refresher for us so we can kind of talk about our details, and you can expect to see Elijah's full review and recap and all his full theories and breakdowns on the site soon. So I'm just going to go ahead and introduce my guest for today, Elijah Montoya. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm very good. Like you said, man, this is like a special one-off of the podcast. It's like a Marvel one-shot, if you will. But yeah, we might be doing these a few times throughout the year because we're looking at, multiple episodes of WandaVision. We got 9 of these things. And what's funny is you say we just watched it. It's, 1 a.m. where I am. It's 1:44. So we're doing this fresh off the dome. But this is a refresher. It was funny. I was trying to write my recap a little bit before, and then I wanted to get more details and be able to rewind and stuff like that to fully write the review and stuff. And it was just like, oh wait, what was the commercial? And I couldn't remember since when we watched it. I was like, I have no idea what it was, and now I know what it is. It's good to have the show back, man. It's a fun show.
This was probably, since we did see this episode beforehand, this was probably my favorite episode out of the 3 that we've gotten so far. And interestingly enough, though, it is the shortest out of the 3, but I thought what it was setting up, this was basically what everything was leading to. And I think I said this in our main podcast, but it feels like all along that they've been setting up, like the first 3 episodes were always meant to be, is essentially the first act of the 9-part episode. We've got the little tease at the end hinting at a bigger world, and we're going to jump to spoilers in a little bit, but I feel like this was a perfect way to really fully engage us into the series. And what's interesting too is that I feel like a lot of people, regardless of what TV show or whatever, people are like, you usually give it 3 or 4 episodes before you fully write it off, or before you fully like, all right, I'm not giving the show another chance. So I feel like for those fans that were like iffy or like, oh, I don't know, this is my cup of tea because of the genre change or whatever, I feel like this is the episode that'll definitely be like, all right, this is MCU still. This is like them, just trying to do something different, but still making sure like we're back at it. So how did you feel about that?
Yeah, you're correct. I completely agree with you. It's the episode where the crap hits the fan. It's the one that kind of gives us the most intrigue and a window into the outside world. So it's the one that kind of cements the mystery and kind of gives you a little bit more of a framework of what's going on. Because I think my biggest question in the show is how much time is actually passing in this world. And there's kind of a montage at the beginning of this episode that goes along with the WandaVision, the new WandaVision theme song for this episode. And you kind of mentioned to me it was kind of in a Brady Bunch kind of feel. I definitely agree with that, with the long hair and the sideburns and all of that, and the way they were doing the little windows for everyone, and even the fonts really matched that in my mind. But we don't really know how much time has passed, and none of the neighbors, none of the other characters in the world even address that the world's in color now. It's just showing these kind of montage, these quick cuts of them becoming more and more ingratiated in the community, blending in with suburbia there. And I think that's really interesting because, in our first few episodes, they're trying to prove themselves to the community. And in within, a minute and a half or a minute, even with that intro, they're a part of the community. Everyone loves them. They're friends with everyone now. So a lot of things happen quickly. And that's, I guess my main thing is how is time passing? Is time passing in there the same way it passes in what we might see as the real world? How is this Wanda TV world working? Those are my kind of questions kind of leading into this. How'd you feel about that?
Definitely using a lot of visual cues to kind of foreshadow a hint at certain type of things, and using more of the physical comedy. I thought it was really interesting how they use a lot of the physical tropes of how you would see those type of comedies, like the physical tropes for when she was actually giving birth and whatnot. So I kind of feel like we can't talk too many details without getting into spoilers about how we really feel about this episode. So if you haven't watched the episode yet and you're just trying to get a feel for it, this is the cutoff now. All in all, I thought this overall episode, they were able to really, like I said at the beginning of this, really, they threw the hook out, and now I feel like we all finally called it, and people were like, all right, I'm ready for it. But any final thoughts before we jump into spoilers, Elijah?
There's really a lot of important things that we need to talk about, and all of them are spoilery, but yeah, it's the biggest thing out there. It's the only show on TV right now because it's January, so I think a lot of people are watching this. But yeah, let's jump into spoilers. Where'd you want to start?
Wanda's big as hell now. What are your initial thoughts just knowing who Scarlet Witch is? How did it feel to finally see we might actually get these Young Avengers? How did that feel to actually see a pregnant Scarlet Witch?
When you watch the second episode, she has the baby bump and you're like, okay, who's in there? And in the comics, she has twin children, and you don't find out that she had twins until later. It's like this whole thing where like she had the one kid, and then the other kid is revealed later to be one of the Maximoff twins or one of her children. But immediately from jump, you have Vision talking about Shakespeare and wanting to name the kid Billy, like after William Shakespeare. And Billy is a character from the comics. Billy is William, who is Wiccan. And then she's like, I'd like a more, classic American name like Tommy. And Tommy is Thomas Shepard, who is Speed in the comics. So right away, they're like, oh yeah, guys, Young Avengers coming. Like, it's just like, they just do it so casually. You're like, wait, what? Like, I was like, really? We're going there? So
if you could have told me like when Wanda and Quicksilver or Pietro Maximoff were introduced into the MCU, I couldn't have told you like 5 years from now they would be on a sitcom having their own kids like in the third episode, bro. Like, this is so wild to me that they were able to do that so casually, but it felt so impactful. And I talked about it earlier with like the visual cues. I thought it was hilarious how they brought in like the actual stork coming into the room at the beginning, and then they just following her around. I was like, that's hilarious and that's genius. So what did you think about just that whole giving birth process? Like, what did all of that?
Kevin Feige's playing with house money, right? Like, they're not pulling any punches. Like, we're already, 23 films in. They already got us. Like, they already know they've made $11 billion at the box office. Like, they already know that they've got us. And it's just crazy to see like that kind of flex to me. I was just blown away that they would immediately drop them. And then, later in the episode, actually have them be named that. And the second baby comes. And like, there's that tease at the beginning where you're like, oh, the baby's either going to be this or this. And they're kind of teasing that. And then by the end of it, you have both of them and they're both there and alive and in this world. Now, we don't know how alive that might mean or if they actually exist. But I thought the most interesting thing to me is like, this episode was the one that had the most obvious laugh track to me. Like, I noticed the laugh track the most in this one, and I don't know if that was intentional to kind of like pull you out of what was going on or make it more eerie, but and stick with me on this, because maybe I'm seeing something that they're not intending you to see. But the episode has a laugh track, but this is the first episode where things are going off track the most, whether it's like the neighbor like sawing into the wall, and like that kind of saw that you would use to like trim your hedges shouldn't be able to go through cinder block like that. But if these are all sets on a television show, well, then that would just be made of cardboard or some kind of, PVC material or something, and it would be made to look like a cinder block wall. But it cut through it. So it's like the laugh track's there, but they're going off track more than ever. And so like these different characters, I feel like if Wanda has created this grand television world and these are all her NPCs, your NPCs in a video game, they all have this track that they have to go on. And if they get off their track, that's when there's glitches in the game and there's things that go wrong. And this is the first time that we saw her directly intervening with Vision. Before, she had changed other elements, but this is the first time that we get a view into Vision challenging her, realizing something's wrong, and then she like, it's almost like the signal goes out and it blips away, like if the station went away for a minute.
You spoke about just how everything was going off track. That kind of reminded me of the commercial that was hinted at in this episode with the mom just having to deal with like 4 different situations, and it's like, oh, do you want to get away? And then it sees her like in a bath in the vacation. And I kind of feel like that was not only representing her in this episode, but I kind of felt like it was mirroring her in this whole world. I feel like all those are mirrored in one way or another, something that happened to her in her life. And then it was like, oh, like she needs an escape. And this is her escape after having to do another funeral, having to sit there like after the events of Endgame. She's like, bro, I'm having a mental breakdown. I need a vacation. I need to escape. And I kind of feel like that was like what the commercial was saying. This is her escape. This is her own little paradise, her home away from home. And it's also, I also want to note that Paul Bettany recently did an interview with somebody just revealing that they actually did shoot a Endgame post-credit scene like with her and Scarlet, where it was Scarlet actually like having his body bag in a duffel bag or something like that in a drawer or something. So they did like shoot some scenes like that weren't used or anything like that, but it's just interesting to know like this, it felt like that commercial was kind of mirroring her real life. If I feel like I'm reaching a little bit, but I don't know. What do you think?
No, I don't think you're reaching at all. And you're helping me write my article later too. You're tying it to another point that I wanted to make, because I didn't actually connect that part about the commercial wanting to get away. But that's the same thing that the doctor says later. He's trying to get away on vacation, and then he
Mm.
says, the car breaks down, and then he says, it's hard to escape these small neighborhood kind of things. It's hard to get away from these, and that's what I think the two neighbors were trying to say, Herb and Agnes. I believe they were trying to say we can't leave, not that we're not real, but I think that they were trying to say we can't leave.
We're going to flash forward to the end a little bit, but after she has the kids, after she's having her little moment, we have Monica actually mention like her trigger word of like, oh, they're twins. And then she has, this was like, shout out to Elizabeth Olsen, by the way. And like everybody keeps praising her acting, killed it this episode, like absolutely killed it, from having to pretend like she's pregnant. And then we have this serious moment where Monica actually reveals and she says,
he was killed by Ultron, wasn't he?
The whole shift of everything, I was just like, wow, like the build up, the suspense, like the camera change from not it being like all like the sitcom type of camera, like it's actually like HD camera zooming in, like panning in serious, the lighting on her face, and then she starts singing that Sokovian music. I'm like, oh wow, what's happening right now?
I completely agree that you're right, that like that tonal shift was really important. But so I kind of wanted to throw a theory at you real quick, just based off the trailers, because the thing that struck me the most, and this was kind of something I was going to put in the article, something that will be in the article, why would Wanda know what the sword symbol looks like? Why would she, interrogate Geraldine so intently after seeing that sword symbol?
Like the symbol was on the back of that dude before she rewinded in the gray.
And on the helicopter, yes.
He's had a run-in with them beforehand.
So there's a moment in the trailer where it seems to be Scarlet Witch with the mind gem. So this is my thought, so stick with me on this. So that scene we're talking about from Endgame where she finds the body bag, we're going to see that. I think they shot that already, or that they maybe shot it for Endgame, and that we're going to see it in WandaVision. But the reason the show starts off in black and white, if you remember, when Vision dies, he goes Optimus Prime on us and he goes completely gray. Remember, he's all black and white, grayscale, monochrome, all that. So that's why the series starts off as this black and white show, because she's rebuilding Vision, and Vision is currently black and white. And I think what happened is she was collaborating with Sword, and she was trying to use her powers to reform the mind gem to bring Vision back. And when she couldn't handle the stress of trying to bring an Infinity Stone back into reality with her reality powers, she had a mental break. And that's what has created this bubble, this Wanda world on TV. That's my theory, just from a small frame of the trailer, from the second trailer, I believe.
Oh, dude. I almost want to say, let's write that down, but you're already going to write this down. But god damn. Oh man, I don't even know what to say to that. I feel like that's one of the most solid theories I've heard ever, bro. She's interacted with Sword. She's doing all that, and I feel like now it kind of would tie into why Monica's here, where she's been, and then it's introducing her, like giving her a little backstory, because maybe they've had to recruit outside of who was already in Sword, because Scarlet or Wanda already is familiar with all the people in Sword, so she would know somebody's trying to infiltrate her like little place, so they would have to send in a new recruit to be like a infiltrate into this little world. Whatever she's doing to control the world, I feel like it's not so, I don't know how to explain it. She's not controlling it so hard to where there aren't mess ups or there aren't little cracks or loot. Because when we see with Monica, I feel like she was in the trance for a second, but that trigger word of her saying like, I used to be a twin, my brother's name was Pietro, and that kind of reminded her, oh wait, I used to, like, real world, like it kind of clicked her back to like, remember, like she was a Sword agent, and then she had that little mess up of saying, oh, he got killed by Ultron, and that's what like triggered everything.
And this is a credit to Tiana Paris's acting in general, because she realized that like she messed up, because I think you're right, she was in the trance. Her saying her brother's name snapped her out of it for a second. Snap, not to use a Thanos term, but it knocked her out of the trance for a second. She said that thing, and then she did remember who she was, and then she was like walking over herself trying to smooth it over. And you could tell Wanda wasn't having any of that BS. So like congratulations to those two ladies, because they killed it in that scene.
Now that we're talking about it more, I feel like maybe the reason why it snapped her out of it is because whatever she says that's actually real in that fake world will like remind people of like the real world. Like she said, used to have a brother. Like any other interaction she's had with Monica in this show as Geraldine has always been her like trying to put up a front or something like that, or trying to like say or joke or do something to distract her. But when she actually had a real moment of sincerity and she said, I used to have a brother, like that triggered like, all right, this is a real world thing. And then like I feel like as we talk more, I was like I'm just reaching more and more.
No. And I can give you examples from the show too, but one thing I just wanted to highlight before we move on from the performances is like, even in Elizabeth Olsen's face, she goes from like housewife, like happy pregnant lady, to remembering all the pain of her life and like having that like more stoic face that Wanda has after all the pain she's gone through. And like it's just this minor tweak of the jaw, but like I saw it and I was like, this is awesome. But what I was going to go to is like, so you said that like the words having power in the world. I think that's really true, because the baby kicks and then she says, oh, it's like a fluttering feeling, and then those butterflies come to life. So that's a word becoming an action in the world. Those little butterflies on the mobile start flying away, and then the opposite happens. It starts to rain in the room, and then she said, I think my water broke. So that's an action in the world becoming something in her body or in her. So it seems like it's this Ouroboros, like snake eating its own tail type of thing, where she's saying things, they're saying things that are affecting the world, and then the world's doing things that are affecting her as well. It's really interesting how it's all kind of like melting in on each other and folding apart and in.
And tell me why I feel like the next episode, like Pietro's going to come knocking at the door or something. Or I know there was rumors that Evan Peters was cast. Like I feel like they could like play a joke and have him like come from like I don't know, like she pulls him from the X-Men TV universe or something. Like I don't know. I feel like now that she's spoken Pietro, this is the first time we've heard her say his name in years or a minute. So now I feel like you've said the name, you've said Pietro into this universe. This is the first time you've mentioned him in your fake world. Why wouldn't he show up now that you can, if you can bring back Vision, if you can make him whole again and do that, why not couldn't you bring back your brother into your own fake world? Like you just created two living kids. You can bring back your brother, man.
And I think that Disney's the master of this, because if we've seen how the way that Mandalorian played out is that they had their entire trailers that they did, the entire marketing lead up for season 2 only showed like the first 2 episodes of the show, maybe the first 3 a little bit. And then this, like the trailers that we've seen for WandaVision, we've pretty much seen every single frame that they've shown in the trailers in these 3 episodes here. So there could be a big cameo surprise. Aaron Taylor Johnson could show up in
I hope so, bro. Like
episodes.
Speaking of the Mandalorian, like yeah, how big, how awesome, how much more awesome of a moment would have been to actually just see Ahsoka Tano pop up without having any of that casting news, have any of those rumors kind of bury the lead. Like we knew she was showing up now, but like had we had that moment, that would have been even more epic. So I hope we do have something like that. Hopefully Disney can pull it off again. And I did want to, before, because I feel like we could chat for another hour just dissecting this whole episode, but I did want to talk about another moment when she finally realizes Monica's not who she's been pretending to be. Like when Vision does come back into the room and then Wanda's like, oh, she's gone. And then you have that moment of the screen panning outwards and finally like breaking into like the real world. I just want to stand up and clap, because there's only been one other moment I can really remember that's really not impacted me, but that's been left a moment in my head of like, that's a good transitional scene, was the Hunger Games movie when Katniss is going up she's going up from the bottom and she's shooting up into the top, and it goes from her like the black bars on the top of the screen and the bottom of the screen, and it goes full zoom when she's on the battlefield, and you're just like, fuck, that was a good transition, and it stays that way throughout the rest of the movie. That was kind of like the similar effect I had when like the screen pans out and then you see Monica flying through the breaking through the little fake world back into the real world, and then you see Sword like coming back to pick her up and stuff like that. I was just like, damn, that's an actual good ass transition to really tell people, all right, this is the real world. We're back into the Earth you know and love. So what did you think about that?
Yeah, I thought that it was really cool that they are willing to play around with the aspect ratios. They're willing to change things, and like the way that they kind of do it slowly to make it like feel like a cool moment, to make it be impactful. Because you know, like Star Wars is iconic for their wipes and stuff like that, but like it feels like WandaVision's going to be like unique in the way that it changes aspect ratios and it like resizes things for the moment, which I think is really cool. I would say the one thing that I found the oddest in the episode, and this just could be they just did it, like back in the day, sitcoms would just write crazy stuff in, like the jump the shark whole thing, like just basically to like move the plot forward. I didn't understand why Vision could run at super speed.
Yeah.
Almost like Quicksilver. So my thought is, did Wanda not create Vision exactly how he was? And did she give him Quicksilver's only power? Like, that was strange to me. I was like, okay, so him being able to run fast, that's not a Vision power in the comics. But also maybe it's just because Wanda can create the world she wants, that she gave him that power to honor her brother in a way. So that was something I was just playing around in my head. I don't know what the answer is, but I wanted to throw that to you because it was weird, right?
I kind of just chalk that up to like, oh, they're using it as a plot for the TV world that they're living in, but not really taking it as far as like, oh, that could be honoring Quicksilver. But now that you brought that up, like, yeah, he's using super speed to traverse like throughout the neighborhood. If Wanda was able to create or change Vision into her own way, yeah, why wouldn't you put a little bit of your brother, like, come on now, like, you like, we're trying to remember, like, you always want to leave legacy. So damn, like, if she was able to do that, or if she did that in honor of Quicksilver, that's fucking amazing. And I don't know, man, I feel like all of your theories are like, I feel like you actually watched the show in advance and you're just like traveling from the future, just trying to drop some gems. Like, you're pulling some Simpsons type bullshit on me right now. Like, I feel like we're gonna come back next weekend, it's just gonna be like, Elijah, how'd you know?
The dumbest thing that I put in the first recap for episodes 1 and 2 was that there would be like, because it's like this TV world where anything can happen, they can just seemingly summon whatever they want into the world, or just wacky things are happening, like the stork. My wildest thought was that there would be a Thanos therapy session and Wanda would get like one more chance to shit talk Thanos. Like, that's what I thought would happen.
Imagine Scarlet Witch and Vision on Maury. And then you see Maury's like, these kids aren't yours, Vision. And then Scarlet Witch runs out, and then the camera follows her, and then she has to like use her magic to throw it away.
It's the Office episode, and Thanos is like Michael Scott, and like everyone else is just being terrorized by him in the office.
And he's just walking around. He's like, hey, Meredith, look at this. And he snaps the coffee away.
I need someone to Photoshop the prison Mike bandana onto Thanos. I don't know why, but I need it.
Bro, we're giving some good ideas away. Hold on now. Disney Plus, bring us in the writer's room for season 2. Well, I think we're at the end of our spoiler review, man. I think this was a fun episode. It teased a lot for the future. We've got the kids introduced. We've got Sword officially introduced now. What's going to come next? We're going to Tiana Paris already confirmed that we will learn a lot about Monica Rambeau. So I feel like these next few episodes are going to kind of dive. We're going to definitely still see more WandaVision, but I think we'll finally get to see more of what's been going on outside of Wanda's world. But besides that, yeah, man, like, any last notes before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think exactly what you're saying. This is a turning point. I do look at this show, like, because they said that they're making these shows with like the budget of a movie. So I do think exactly what you're saying, that this first 3 episodes was the first act of this play or of this film. And now I completely agree with you. I think that we're going to see very big shifts between, like, we're in the TV world. This is probably where we'll meet some of the other people that have been confirmed to be in the cast. And I think we're going to have 2 shows now within this show. That's going to be like 50% in, 50% out of this TV land is what I really think will be the episodes coming forward.
I hope so, man. This is an exciting time for Marvel, exciting time for the MCU. Didn't think we'd be sitting here talking about Wanda and Vision in their own comedy sitcom type, dramatic type show. The last thing I did want to mention before, but I think we talked about it in our review, but Wanda has been in control this whole time, and this show has been kind of loosely setting up and tying that she's got some, not villainous in her, but like, she's definitely she's calling the shots. So this episode, the end of this episode really felt like, if you didn't see Wanda as not I don't want to even say villain or a bad guy, but she's not the antagonist either, because she's the main character. You can be an antagonist and the main character.
She can be John David Washington. She is the protagonist. Like, here's the thing, man. Like, in the review on the site, you can go check it out, geeksofcolor.co, guys. Go there. It's a great website. But what I said in the review to end it is that the Vision in WandaVision does not stand for Vision, the character who we know. The Vision in WandaVision is television. This is Wanda's TV world, man. Like that capital V shouldn't be there. It should be lowercase, because it's WandaVision. It's Wanda's TV.
That's a perfect way to end it, man. So make sure to follow us on Twitter. Make sure to go check out Elijah's review on the site. Make sure, and Elijah, where can they find you at, man?
At Mario RPG, so like Mario, like Super Mario, and then the letter R, the letter P, and then GENO.
Thank you so much for stopping by, man. And let us know in the comments below. Leave a like or something. Let us know if you want us to do these recaps weekly, because I expected this to be like 10, maybe 15 minutes. Didn't expect us to be sitting here for 25, 30 minutes discussing it. But, we have fun with it. And again, this was just our initial like reaction after coming back to the episode after a few weeks. So definitely make sure to check out Elijah's review on the site. He will be much more thorough. And then who knows, when we come back for episode 4, we'll come back with some more details about what we thought about this week's episode. With that being said, make sure to like, subscribe. We'll see you here for more content.